The guard stood in silence, staring through the thick, reinforced glass. Behind it sat a man, a human, his body covered in ash, clothes torn, skin burned in places. He didn't move. He didn't speak. He just sat there, eyes half closed, as if he didn't even care where he was. One guard leaned closer to the glass and whispered, "He survived that?" The others said nothing. They had seen the satellite images. Planet Xylon 5 was gone. Not damaged, not half destroyed. Gone. Reduced to floating dust and molten rock. Billions of lives vanished in seconds, and yet, this human was found at the edge of the destruction zone, breathing, alive, and silent. The alien prison was deep in Sector 9, hidden in a starless region of space where no signals escaped. It was meant for the worst of the worst. War criminals, genetic weapons, monsters from collapsed experiments. Never before had a human prisoner been brought here. In fact, most of the prison guards had never seen a human in real life. Earth had disappeared from all records almost 20 years ago after the border conflicts. No ships, no signals. It was believed the humans had either wiped themselves out or were hiding somewhere, broken and forgotten. But now, one sat inside, their prison, alive, dangerous. Warden Task stood before the glass. He was a tall, dark-scaled creature with red eyes that showed no emotion. He watched the prisoner carefully. "He hasn't spoken?" he asked. "No, Warden," said the young guard beside him. "Not a word since he was picked up. He won't eat, won't sleep, just sits there." Task narrowed his eyes. "Hook him, to the truth web. I want to know who he is, how he survived, and what happened on Xylon 5. But the truth web failed 3 times. The machine couldn't read the human's memories. It picked up strange static, like a broken transmission. At one point it even sparked and short-circuited. The technicians had never seen anything like it. One whispered, "It's like something is blocking the web from inside his mind." Task didn't like mysteries. He had survived 4 wars, 2 coups, and 1 prison riot so violent the floor still carried burn marks. But this man made him uneasy. There was something wrong about him. Not angry, not scared. Just still, like a storm waiting for the right moment. Later that night, a junior officer named Wren, curious and bold, watched security footage of the man's arrival. The footage came from the rescue ship that had picked up the signal from the edge of Xylon 5. In the video, the human lay face down on a rock platform, surrounded by burning sky. There was no oxygen, no shield, no atmosphere, and yet, his body had no signs of decompression, no suffocation, no cold burns. He was just alive. And he woke up just before they took him aboard. Wren replayed the moment over and over. At one point, he zoomed in on the man's hand. There was something faint on his skin, like a glowing mark, barely visible. It pulsed for a second, then vanished. He froze the frame. Enhanced. The mark looked like a code, not in any known language, not even human. Wren felt a cold shiver run down his spine. Back in the cell, the human finally moved. Slowly, he looked up at the camera in the corner of the ceiling. For the first time, his lips moved. The camera picked up no sound. But when the footage was reviewed later, experts were able to read his lips. He had said, "They shouldn't have touched Earth." That same night, one of the outer security doors unlocked by itself for 3 seconds, just long enough to confuse the system. Nothing escaped, nothing entered. But it had never happened before. Warden Task called a full lockdown. Engineers tore apart the system. No bugs, no hacks, no explanations. And the human smiled. The smile wasn't warm. It wasn't proud. It was small, quiet, like someone who knew something that no one else did. Something terrible. The next day, Task interrogated him personally. The man said nothing. Task threatened him, insulted him, even offered deals. But the man just sat there, looking into the warden's eyes with a calm that made even Task pause. Then as Task stood to leave, the human spoke. Just once. Xylon 5 wasn't an accident. Task froze. What did you say? The man leaned forward slightly. They thought Earth was gone. They attacked first. We answered. But how? Task demanded. You were wiped out. No, the human said. We just became something else. Security pulled him back to the cell, but the words stayed with Task long after. That night he reviewed older war logs. In one of them, a high-ranking general had once warned, humans are not dangerous because they fight. They're, dangerous because they remember. A report came in from a science team studying the remains of Xylon 5. They found something strange, a deep energy signature not known to any current tech, something buried in the planet's core before the explosion. The team called it inverted fire, and it matched no known weapon. Wren brought the warden another report, this one classified. It spoke of an old Earth project shut down decades ago, a rumor really, called Project Reversal. No details, only one sentence at the bottom. If this project ever activates, do not engage. Nothing will survive. And now, one human sat in their highest security prison, alone, alive, and maybe, just maybe, the destroyer of a world. The alarms echoed through the prison's dark metal halls, quiet at first, then louder, more urgent. But nothing had happened. No prisoner had escaped. No systems were down. Still, the prison AI signaled a silent code. Unknown disturbance detected. Near cell 43. That was his cell. The human. Warden Task was in his office when the lights flickered for half a second. He stood up immediately. Get me to cell 43 now, he growled. Two guards followed behind him, weapons drawn, nervous. They'd never been this tense over one prisoner. But this was not a normal case. Xylon 5 was gone, and the only living soul left was locked in their prison, smiling like he knew everything. As they reached the observation deck, the cameras for cell 43 were already glitching. Static covered the screens. No one had touched the wires. The tech team was still trying to reboot the feed. But through the one working lens, they saw him, sitting still, as always. But now his head was tilted up, staring at the wall. Not at the door. Not at the glass. Just the wall. Like he could hear something the rest of them couldn't. He's not doing anything, one guard whispered. Warden Task didn't reply. He kept watching. Then the human began to whisper. His lips moved softly, slowly, like he was speaking to someone right beside him. But the room was empty. Enhance audio, Task ordered. The speaker crackled. Words came through, quiet but clear. They're coming from the other side, they remember too. The guards looked at each other, confused. Who was he talking about? Wren, the young officer from before, rushed into the control room holding a report. Warden, he said, out of breath, you need to see this, now. Task snatched the report from his hands. It was from a long-range probe team. They had returned to the area around Xylon 5's remains. What they found wasn't just dust. Something was moving through the wreckage. Something massive, but not a ship, not a creature. It was energy, black and gold, twisting like smoke and light together. And it was following a pattern, a code. What kind of energy is it? Task asked. No idea, Wren said. But sir, there's more. Before Xylon 5 blew up, a signal was sent, from the planet, toward Earth's last known location. The room fell silent. Earth is gone, one of the guards said. No, the human said suddenly. His voice came through the speaker again. You just stopped looking. That was your first mistake. Task turned toward the screen, stunned. Is he listening to us? But no one had spoken aloud, not one word. The room was soundproof from the cell. He can't hear us, Wren whispered. Unless... Task clenched his jaw. He's reading minds. That's impossible. Wasn't surviving a planet explosion impossible too? Task shot back. Back in the cell, the human stood up for the first time since his arrival. His back was straight, calm. His eyes looked directly at the security camera. And then, for the first time, he spoke to them clearly. "I'm not your prisoner." The camera shut off. The screen went black. "Reboot it!" Task shouted. The tech crew scrambled. Nothing worked. The entire camera system for Cell 43 was dead. But the rest of the prison worked fine. Inside the cell, a strange mark appeared again on the human's hand, the same faint glowing symbol Ren had seen earlier. It pulsed once like a heartbeat, then vanished. Guards rushed to the cell door with heavy weapons, but when they looked through the glass, the man was sitting down again. Quiet, peaceful, like he never moved. But the mark was gone. "I want him moved," Task ordered. Deep cell. No tech. No signals. Nothing. "But sir," Ren said, "if he's connected to that energy, we may make things worse by isolating him." Task turned slowly. "He said he's not our prisoner. Do you understand what that means?" Ren swallowed. "That he's letting us keep him here?" Task nodded. "Which means if he wanted to leave, he could." The deep cell was buried 2 levels below ground, shielded by magnetic fields, and surrounded by voidstone, a rare material used to block all forms of energy, signal, or psychic contact. They'd never used it on a human before. They didn't think they ever would. 4 guards escorted the man down the narrow hallway. He didn't resist. He walked calmly, step by step, eyes forward, like he had been here before. As they reached the door, one guard asked, "Why did you destroy Xylon 5? The man stopped, turned slowly. "I didn't destroy it," he said. The guard blinked. "Then who did?" The human smiled faintly. "We warned them. They didn't listen." "Warned them about what?" The human looked up at the ceiling like he was remembering something old and painful. "About what happens when you make a planet full of ghosts angry." He stepped into the dark cell without another word. The door sealed shut behind him. But 2 sectors away, something massive was moving through space. It wasn't a ship. It wasn't alive. But it was coming. And it wasn't coming for peace. It was coming for whoever touched Earth, and the man in Cell 43? He was just the beginning. The deep cell was silent. No lights, no sounds, no way to tell time. Just cold darkness and thick voidstone walls. No signals could pass through. No voices, no thoughts. But the human sat there with his eyes open, awake, waiting. Outside the cell, Warden Task watched the monitors. All showed static now. Even voidstone couldn't stop the systems from failing near this man. Engineers said everything was fine, but the screen said otherwise. The air near Cell 43 was colder, heavier, almost like something else was breathing in there with him. Task pressed a button. "Ren, update?" Ren's voice came through, nervous. "Warden, we've lost contact with Probe Team 7. They were near Xylon 5's ruins. Last message was strange. They said something was watching them, then nothing." Task clenched his teeth. "Show me their last log." The screen flickered. Static again. Then, an image. A dark shape in space, shifting like smoke with flashes of gold. One of the crew screamed in the background. Then silence. Task shut off the feed. He turned to Ren. "What do we really know about Earth's end?" Ren hesitated. "Just what the archives say. Earth collapsed during the final war. No survivors. The planet was lost in fire. And who confirmed that? No one. The records just stopped. All Earth signals vanished one day." Task nodded slowly. "And now a human who should be dead appears. A planet is destroyed. Ghosts are mentioned. Warnings we never heard. What if he's part of something bigger?" Ren whispered. Back in the deep cell, the human leaned his head against the wall. His eyes were closed, but behind them, memories played like fire. He remembered the screams, cities on Earth falling from the sky, blue oceans turning black. He remembered the machines that turned against them, the sky cracking open. Then, silence. But that wasn't the end. Not for him. He remembered standing in the ashes of his home. His sister's hand had slipped from his fingers. He remembered the tall alien ships in the sky. Not helping. Just watching, taking notes, and then leaving. They left Earth to die, and Earth remembered. He opened his eyes slowly. The walls whispered now, not with sound, but with feeling. They pressed in on him. They didn't like him here. The Void Stone was built to hold monsters, but it could feel something else inside him. Something it didn't understand. He whispered, to the wall, voice soft. They thought Earth was just dirt and sky. They never saw what lived beneath. Meanwhile, Ren dug deeper into the archives. Something didn't sit right with him. The way the prisoner spoke, the way he knew things. It didn't feel like madness, it felt like warning. He searched for old Earth data. Most of it was gone. But one ancient message survived, hidden under military encryption. Ren broke through it slowly. It was a voice recording. To anyone out there, Earth is not dead. We were forced to hide. Buried in the layers of our world are things no one should wake. If you find this, don't come back. Don't take what's not yours. Earth remembers everything. Ren sat back in his chair, heart pounding. The message had a time code, dated only 2 hours before Earth went dark. He ran to Task's office. Warden, listen to this. As the message played, Task's eyes narrowed. What if Earth wasn't destroyed? What if it changed? Or evolved, Ren added. What if something on that planet wanted us to believe it died? Task stood and walked to the window. And the man in cell 43, maybe he didn't survive the end. Maybe he was chosen by whatever did. In the lower levels, the power flickered. Again. In the dark, the human stood. His body glowed faintly with light lines under the skin, ancient symbols of a lost code, the same ones carved into Earth's oldest stones. He placed his hand on the wall. The void stone cracked, only slightly. Barely noticeable, but it had never cracked before. Above, the security lights turned red. An alarm rang once, then died. System logs showed nothing, no error, no breach. But in every hallway near the deep cell, the temperature dropped. And then, the whispers began. Guards looked around confused. Did you hear that? One said. No, another replied. But I felt it. Task and Ren rushed to the lower levels. As they reached the corridor, they saw it. Lines of frost spreading across the walls, like invisible fingers tracing paths in ice. Then they heard a voice, not from the speakers, not from any device, from inside their own minds. You watched us burn. Task stepped back. You stood while we screamed. Ren gripped his head. Warden, it's him. He's in our minds. No, Task whispered, staring at the frost forming a shape on the wall. A symbol, the same as on the prisoner's hand. This isn't just him, he said. It's something through him. Suddenly, every door in the deep level locked. Emergency lights turned blue. The prison AI announced, Level 7 containment, breach detected, unknown force rising. In the cell, the human looked up. He whispered again. They're waking up now. And in the stars beyond, Xylon 5, the gold-black, energy twisted into shape, something with no name, something Earth had buried long ago, now following its only survivor, and it was almost here. The deep cell was silent. No lights, no sounds, no way to tell time. Just cold darkness and thick void stone walls. No signals could pass through. No voices, no thoughts. But the human sat there with his eyes open, awake, waiting. Outside the cell, Warden Task watched the monitors. All showed static now. Even Voidstone couldn't stop the systems from failing near this man. Engineers said everything was fine, but the screen said otherwise. The air near cell 43 was colder, heavier, almost like something else was breathing in there with him. Task pressed a button. Ren, update? Ren's voice came through, nervous. Warden, we've lost contact with Probe Team 7. They were near Xylon 5's ruins. Last message was strange. They said something was watching them, then nothing. Task clenched his teeth. Show me their last log. The screen flickered. Static again. Then, an image. A dark shape in space, shifting like smoke with flashes of gold. One of the crew screamed in the background. Then silence. Task shut off the feed. He turned to Ren. What do we really know about Earth's end? Ren hesitated. Just what the archives say. Earth collapsed during the final war. No survivors. The planet was lost in fire. And who? Confirmed that? No one. The records just stopped. All Earth signals vanished one day. Task nodded slowly. And now a human who should be dead appears. A planet is destroyed. Ghosts are mentioned. Warnings we never heard. What if he's part of something bigger? Ren whispered. Back in the deep cell, the human leaned his head against the wall. His eyes were closed, but behind them, memories played like fire. He remembered the screams, cities on Earth falling from the sky, blue oceans turning black. He remembered the machines that turned against them, the sky cracking open. Then, silence. But that wasn't the end. Not for him. He remembered standing in the ashes of his home. His sister's hand had slipped from his fingers. He remembered the tall alien ships in the sky. Not helping. Just watching, taking notes, and then leaving. They left Earth to die, and Earth remembered. He opened his eyes slowly. The walls whispered now, not with sound, but with feeling. They pressed in on him. They didn't like him here. The Void Stone was built to hold monsters, but it could feel something else inside him. Something it didn't understand. He whispered, to the wall, voice soft. They thought Earth was just dirt and sky. They never saw what lived beneath. Meanwhile, Ren dug deeper into the archives. Something didn't sit right with him. The way the prisoner spoke, the way he knew things. It didn't feel like madness, it felt like warning. He searched for old Earth data. Most of it was gone. But one ancient message survived, hidden under military encryption. Ren broke through it slowly. It was a voice recording. To anyone out there, Earth is not dead. We were forced to hide. Buried in the layers of our world are things no one should wake. If you find this, don't come back. Don't take what's not yours. Earth remembers everything. Ren sat back in his chair, heart pounding. The message had a time code, dated only 2 hours before Earth went dark. He ran to Task's office. Warden, listen to this. As the message played, Task's eyes narrowed. What if Earth wasn't destroyed? What if it changed? Or evolved, Ren added. What if something on that planet wanted us to believe it died? Task stood and walked to the window. And the man in cell 43, maybe he didn't survive the end. Maybe he was chosen by whatever did. In the lower levels, the power flickered. Again. In the dark, the human stood. His body glowed faintly with light lines under the skin, ancient symbols of a lost code, the same ones carved into Earth's oldest stones. He placed his hand on the wall. The void stone cracked, only slightly. Barely noticeable, but it had never cracked before. Above, the security lights turned red. An alarm rang once, then died. System logs showed nothing, no error, no breach. But in every hallway near the deep cell, the temperature dropped. And then, the whispers began. Guards looked around confused. Did you hear that? One said. No, another replied. But I felt it. Task and Ren rushed to the lower levels. As they reached the corridor, they saw it. Lines of frost spreading across the walls, like invisible fingers tracing paths in ice. Then they heard a voice, not from the speakers, not from any device, from inside their own minds. You watched us burn. Task stepped back. You stood while we screamed. Ren gripped his head. Warden, it's him. He's in our minds. No, Task whispered. staring at the frost forming a shape on the wall, a symbol, the same as on the prisoner's hand. "This isn't just him," he said. "It's something through him." Suddenly, every door in the deep level locked. Emergency lights turned blue. The prison AI announced, "Level 7 containment, breach detected, unknown force rising." In the cell, the human looked up. He whispered again. "They're waking up now." And in the stars beyond Xylon 5, the gold-black, energy twisted into shape, something with no name, something Earth had buried long ago, now following its only survivor, and it was almost here. The prison went quiet. Not the usual silence of sleep or order. This was different, like the air itself was holding its breath. Every guard on level 7 stood still, afraid to even blink. The lights flickered, then returned, but colder, dimmer. In the command center, Warden Task stared at the frozen camera feeds. Each screen showed the same image. Cell 43. The human. Still sitting calmly, but now the frost had reached the floor beneath him. Strange markings glowed in the ice, symbols no one recognized. "Get me a translator," Task ordered. "I want those symbols read now." Ren was already ahead of him, scanning through old galactic databases. These markings, they're not from any alien system, not ours, not even the ancient ruins from the dead moons. But I've seen something like them before. Task turned sharply. "Where?" Ren pulled up a damaged file. An old Earth signal from hundreds of years ago, sent before Earth went dark. The screen showed a photo of a cave wall, symbols carved into stone, the same symbols now glowing under the prisoner. "What does it mean?" Task whispered. Ren zoomed in. It was called the Code of Deep Earth. Humans used it in old times, not for language, but for warning. Warning. Of what? Ren hesitated, then read the translation. "What sleeps below Earth is not ours. It was never meant to wake." Task felt a chill run through his spine. They knew something they buried. In the lower cells, 2 guards slowly walked towards cell 43. The door was sealed, but ice crept under it like living veins. One guard, Mav, leaned close. "He's just a man," Mav whispered. "Let's open the cell and talk to him." The second guard grabbed his arm. "You saw what happened to the last team," but Mav was already typing the override. The door hissed, steam poured out, ice swirled like mist. The human stood in the center, eyes glowing faintly. "You shouldn't be here," he said calmly. Mav froze. "We don't want trouble. We just want to know, what are you?" The human's expression didn't change, but the lights behind him cracked. The walls groaned softly. "I'm what your people left behind," he answered. "The last key to a door you were never supposed to open." Mav reached for his weapon. The other guard pulled him back. "Close it. Close the door." But the door didn't close. It stayed open as if something unseen was holding it wide. In the control room, alarms blared. "Security breach. Level 7 open. Cell 43. Unsealed." Task slammed his hand on the console. "Lock it down. Evacuate. Level 7." But the system replied, "Command denied. Authority blocked by external signal." Task's eyes narrowed. What signal? The screen shifted. A new wave of data came in, raw, pulsing code. No origin, no source. Then it formed into a message. "From Earth Core 2, all systems subject. Return initiated," Ren gasped. "Earth sent this." "But Earth is dead," Task said. "No," Ren whispered. "We just thought it was." Back in the hallway, the prisoner stepped out of his cell. The guards didn't shoot, couldn't move. Their hands were frozen in place, not by ice, but by something deeper. Fear from inside. The prisoner looked down the corridor. Lights flickered on one by one ahead of him, forming a path. He began to walk. With each step, the wall shifted. Not breaking, changing. Old, ancient stone appeared where metal used to be. Almost like the prison itself was being rewritten. Task and Ren watched in shock as cameras along the corridor died one by one. What does he want? Task muttered. Ren's face went pale. He's not trying to escape, he's sending a signal. A signal to what? Just then, another transmission broke through. This time, video. An ancient satellite above a dead planet came online. Xylon 5, everyone, thought it had been destroyed. But the video feed showed something else. The planet was healing. Massive cracks in its crust were closing. Cities once shattered were reforming, only darker, sharper. Towers that looked like bone. Rivers glowing. Red and floating above it was the shape. The same shadow seen in the probe's last message, now clearer. Huge, winged, glowing with symbols from the prisoner's skin. Task backed away from the screen. It's not just one planet. No, Ren said quietly. It's a force. A memory. A will. They turned to see the prisoner standing in the control room doorway. How he got there, no one knew. He looked around at the terrified officers. I didn't destroy Xylon 5, he said softly. They did. Who are they? Task demanded. The human raised his hand. The symbols on his palm glowed. They are what Earth woke when it broke. Why send you? Ren asked. The prisoner's eyes gleamed. Because I survived. I remember. And now, so do they. Outside, the prison's power grid began to overload. From deep space, hundreds of satellites went dark, one by one, forming a straight path back to Earth. Something ancient was rising, and the galaxy had no idea what was coming. Across the galaxy, every listening post went silent at the same time. The message wasn't loud. It wasn't in any known language, but it reached deep into machines, minds, and memories. A low hum, ancient and unbreakable. One word repeated, in perfect rhythm. Awaken. At Central Command of the Galactic Council, the High Chancellor stared at the signal map. The wave came from the prison world. But something else had answered. Trace it, the Chancellor shouted. Where? Did the return signal come from? A technician looked up, pale and shaking. Earth, sir. From deep under what was once North America. The room fell quiet. Impossible, whispered another officer. Earth's surface was glassed over 100 years ago. But the signal didn't lie. Back at the prison, the walls of the vault chamber still pulsed with red light. Ren stood frozen, staring at the black sphere the prisoner had touched. The moment their hands met, the sphere changed. It wasn't just glowing now. It was breathing, slowly, like something alive. The prisoner lowered his hand. It's awake now. What is it? Ren asked again, voice shaking. A piece of Earth, the prisoner said. Not the planet, the memory of what Earth was and what it still is. Suddenly, images flooded the room, not on screens but in the air, floating, moving. They showed Earth's past, humans building, fighting, surviving wars. Then they showed the attack, alien fleets burning the skies. The final moment, Earth surrounded by fire. But it didn't end there. The next image was strange. Deep underground, beneath the burning surface, something moved. A massive structure, like a machine made of bones and stone hidden in Earth's core. A machine that watched and waited. It didn't die, the prisoner said. Earth became quiet, not defeated, just waiting for its children to return. Ren stepped back. Children? You think I'm the only one? The prisoner asked, turning to him. There were others, survivors. Not of body, but of thought, of purpose. They were taken, changed, reborn. As he spoke, Ren saw a second image. Other humans, kept in stasis. Floating in black tanks, eyes closed but dreaming. Their minds linked through strange machines. The same symbols that glowed on the prisoner's skin glowed on them too. You were all weapons? Ren whispered. No, the prisoner said, softly. We were messages. Just then, the vault began to shake. Another elevator activated. Ren drew his blaster. Is that more of your kind? The prisoner didn't answer. The elevator opened, but it wasn't another human. It was Warden Task, wounded, furious, and armed with a full shock cannon. His uniform was torn, and part of his face was burned from the earlier meltdown above. Warned them, Task growled. I told them never to bring Earth tech here. I knew this day would come. He aimed at the sphere. I can still stop it. The prisoner stepped between him and the sphere. If you fire, you won't destroy it, you'll feed it. Task's hands shook. What is it? The prisoner answered. A memory of vengeance, and it's listening. Task fired. The beam struck the prisoner, but instead of killing him, it passed through. No blood, no body, just light. The prisoner flickered, like a projection. Ren gasped. You're not even fully here. The prisoner turned. I'm part of what's left. A shard. My body died long ago. But this is the message Earth wanted the galaxy to hear. The walls shook harder. The sphere rose from its pedestal, spinning now faster and faster. Above them, in the prison's surface level, the sky split open, not with ships, but with light. A beam from the direction of Earth, bright as a star, struck the top of the prison tower. It didn't destroy it. It rewrote it. Metal melted into new shapes. Towers reformed. Alien tech became something else. Something human, but more advanced than anything ever seen. From orbit, scanners picked up the change. Sir, a scout reported, the prison, it's transforming, not being destroyed, being rewritten into a different structure. The High Chancellor stared in horror. Rewritten by what? By Earth, the scout said. Earth is coming back. Inside the vault, Task dropped to his knees. His cannon was useless now. He looked up at the spinning sphere, eyes wide with terror. What does it want? He asked. The prisoner's voice became layered, like more than one person speaking through him. It wants to be heard, it wants to be remembered, it wants the truth shown. Suddenly, the sphere exploded with light, and every being in the prison, guard, officer, prisoner, saw the same vision. The last moments of Earth, not how it died, but how it chose to vanish. Earth had activated something beneath its crust. A failsafe. A massive hidden network that wrapped around its core. When the alien fleet struck, Earth had absorbed the energy and then sent it outward. A final command. A final signal. That signal had scattered across the stars, looking for the pieces of itself. The prisoner was one, and now the pieces were waking up. The light faded. Ren dropped to the ground, breathing hard. His mind was full of the images, full of Earth's rage and Earth's sorrow. Task looked at the prisoner one last time. What happens now? The prisoner turned his glowing eyes toward the ceiling where the Earth beam still shined down. Now, he said, Earth speaks. And far away, on 1,000 hidden worlds, the other pieces began to stir. To be continued. The prison world was no longer a prison. The light from the sky had reshaped it. Towers once used to cage the galaxy's worst criminals now looked like silver spires reaching toward the stars. Metal halls had become smooth corridors of glowing stone. Alien computers now pulsed with strange human energy, alive, breathing, thinking. And in the center of it all, the prisoner stood still, eyes closed, as if listening to something far away. Commander Ren was still trying to understand what had happened. He had seen the light, felt it. It wasn't just brightness. It was like a song inside his head, whispers of Earth, memories of a world he had never visited but now somehow remembered. He walked slowly toward the prisoner. Are you still... you? The prisoner opened his eyes. They were no longer just human. They glowed with a mix of human emotion and machine precision. I'm still me, the prisoner said. But I'm also more now. The message was sent. Others heard it. And now they're coming. A deep vibration shook the ground. Ren reached for his communicator, but it was already blinking with alerts. Unidentified objects entering orbit. From the control tower, surviving guards scrambled to report. 5 ships just dropped out of jump speed. Unknown design. No weapons detected, but they're moving fast. The ships didn't look like anything built by aliens or humans. They were made of crystal and steel, covered in strange marks that seemed to shift like waves. Ren looked at the prisoner. Is that them? Yes, he said. Those are the ones who remembered. Inside the ships were humans, but not like any ever seen before. Each had glowing lines running across their skin, like ancient runes carved by fire. They spoke no words, but as soon as they stepped onto the new surface of the prison world, the planet reacted. The light grew warmer. The machines responded to their presence. Ren stepped back as one of them passed him. He felt something inside, his mind open. A vision. Brief. Powerful. He saw cities in the void, hidden inside asteroid belts. He saw children with eyes like stars being taught by machines older than planets. He saw Earth, not as a broken world, but as a seed waiting to grow again. Then the vision ended. One of the glowing humans walked up to the prisoner. She was tall, silent, and familiar. The prisoner looked at her with emotion. You survived, he said quietly. She nodded. I was the memory of Earth's forests. You were the memory of its fire. Together they walked toward the sphere in the vault. It still floated in the air, spinning slowly, pulsing like a beating heart. Another ship arrived, this one much smaller, but the energy it carried was intense. The moment it landed, the air seemed to change, heavy, serious. A figure stepped out, cloaked in black and gold. The Galactic Council had sent an observer. The High Chancellor had realized too late. The human prisoner had never been a mistake. He was a warning, and now that warning had turned into something else. A choice. The cloaked figure walked toward Ren. You must speak with them. We need to understand what Earth is planning. Ren turned to the prisoner and the glowing humans. What are you planning? The woman with glowing skin stepped forward. Not revenge, not war. Balance. The prisoner added, Earth remembers, and it forgives. But it will never forget. If the galaxy wants peace, it must stop pretending Earth was a myth or a mistake. Earth is returning, the woman said, but not as it was, as something new, something fair, something unbreakable. Suddenly, the sky darkened. A new shadow appeared. But it wasn't a ship. It was Earth. No one understood how. The real Earth had been destroyed, burned to ash. But somehow, it now floated just beyond the prison world, reformed, rebuilt, still scarred, but alive. Ren fell to his knees. How? The prisoner looked up. Because Earth was never just a planet. It was an idea. And ideas don't die. They wait. Across the galaxy, other planets saw it. Some called it a ghost. Others called it a god. But the message was clear. Earth had returned, and with it came a warning. We remember who tried to erase us. We remember who helped us. Choose your side. The Galactic Council held an emergency meeting. Some alien leaders wanted to strike again. Others said, no more. Let Earth rebuild. Let the humans walk among us again. But it didn't matter what. They decided. The humans had already begun. The glowing humans spread out, disappearing into the stars. Not to destroy, but to teach. To restore balance. To speak the truth of Earth's history. The loss, the pain, and the strength that rose from it. The prisoner remained behind, watching the sky. Ren stood beside him. You're not going with them? No, the prisoner said. I was the first to remember. My job is done. Now others will carry the fire. The woman in gold stepped forward. You were the one who survived the impossible. The last man on a dead world. But now Earth is alive again. The prisoner smiled softly. It was never dead, just sleeping. As the stars lit up with ships heading out, with messages being sent, and with peace beginning to take root, one thing was clear. Earth had not been destroyed. It had been transformed, and those who tried to erase it now feared it. Because Earth doesn't forget. And humans, they don't give up. The stars had changed. Every ship that passed near the reborn Earth felt something in their systems. A pulse, a signal, soft at first but growing louder every day. The Galactic Council tried to block it. They called it interference. They told their people, it's just a malfunction. But deep inside they knew what it really was. It was Earth's voice. And it had started speaking again. On the prison world, now transformed, Commander Wren walked through the bright halls. Nature had started growing over old metal, vines wrapping around towers that once held pain. He had stayed to learn, to witness. But even now he couldn't sleep. Every night, he heard a whisper in his dreams. A soft voice, full of sorrow and strength. Remember what was taken. The human prisoner, no longer a prisoner, sat by a clear pool, looking up at the stars. He didn't need to speak. The world listened to him now. Ships came and went. Some brought news. Others came seeking forgiveness. One alien, from the planet that had once voted to destroy Earth, arrived with shaking hands. He knelt before the man who had once been caged. We were wrong, he said. We believed the lies. The human didn't look angry. He simply nodded. Truth can't be killed, he said. It grows in silence and waits. But not all had accepted Earth's return. From a dark system far beyond the central stars, a signal was sent. It came from the remnant, the last of the species who led the vote to destroy Earth. They had one goal: finish what they started. A weapon was launched. Silent. Fast. Powered by black core energy. Enough to shatter 3 planets. It flew toward Yar, the reborn Earth. But it never made it. Just as it reached the edge of Earth's new orbit, it stopped. Not because of any shield or missile. It simply froze in space. The stars around it dimmed. Time itself slowed, and then it unraveled. Each atom pulled apart by forces the galaxy didn't understand. The galaxy fell silent. The remnant leader received one message. 4 words, burned into every screen. We are not afraid. After that, fear changed sides. The council had no choice. A new meeting was called. They invited the humans. For the first time in generations, a human walked into the council hall, not as a slave, not as a prisoner, but as an equal. It wasn't the glowing humans. It wasn't even the one who survived the prison. It was a child, a girl, no older than 10, stepped forward. Quiet, calm. Her eyes glowed like soft fire. I am Earth's memory, she said. I remember the kindness you showed, and the cruelty. The council leaders trembled. Some looked away. She placed a small orb on the table. It opened like a flower. From it came sounds, laughing children, waves crashing, songs in forgotten languages. A heartbeat. This is what you tried to destroy. She looked at them all. But we forgive. If you let the truth live. The council voted again. This time it was unanimous. Earth was to be honored, protected, and welcomed. History books were rewritten. Statues were taken down. Schools began, teaching what really happened. And across the galaxy people cried, not because they were sad, but because they finally knew the truth. One man, sitting on a distant mining moon, saw the broadcast and whispered, "So Earth didn't die after all." A child beside him said no. Earth became something greater. Back on the prison world, Commander Wren stood by the human survivor one last time. They're calling this planet Unity now, Wren said. It'll be the new center of peace. The human nodded. Good. Then the pain meant something. He looked to the stars. I wasn't supposed to survive, but I did. And now, so did Earth. Ren asked one final question. What was it like, being the last one? The human smiled. Lonely, but worth it. He placed his hand on the ground. The planet glowed beneath him, and somewhere, in the reborn Earth's sky, a new constellation appeared, a human hand reaching out of fire, not to destroy, but to lift others up. The prisoner had no chains now. He had become the message, and the galaxy would never forget again.